Hello everybody. Tonight I'd like to take a look at the book, The 1 Year Manual, written by the famous occultist Israel Regardie. Now, this isn't a very large book. It has, let's have a look, 67 pages. And then we have just a very short epilogue. There's a recommended reading list at the back. I'll read the blurb for you. It says, Israel Regardie's self-help book emphasizes a series of techniques, meditations, and disciplines which, first of all, produce their own results. When this certain knowledge has been acquired, then the submission by faith to the inner warrior, the holy guardian angel, is a logical and spiritual necessity. It may humble our minds and egos, but it will not outrage our sense of rightness to have faith in something of which we have no direct knowledge or perception. As long as we live on this earth, there will be problems and difficulties. Though we may make many mistakes, by adhering to our vision of the holy guardian angel, each difficulty becomes transformed into a step towards spiritual growth. The rough edges of our being become rounded and polished. Why not put 12 months into this easy to use 12-step process? So, primarily, what this small book is, easy to understand guide to the learning of some of the most popular rituals that was used by the Golden Dawn. Israel Regardie at one point was a secretary for Aleister Crowley, who of course, some of Crowley's writings was very difficult to understand. So what Israel Regardie set out to achieve when writing this book was to break it down. Now there's a section I want to read here, which sort of discusses that a little bit further. It says, the occult student at the outset of his studies is besieged by hundreds of books describing dozens of practices of every kind. They promise directly or otherwise to bring him to the very heights of spiritual attainment, no matter how that attainment is defined. But by the very wealth of material is he overwhelmed, and the result is that, generally speaking, he does nothing except read. Reading does very little to bring one to any kind of realization of one's divine nature. In this manual, it is proposed to burden the student with very little theory, but to outline a course of procedure which, persisted in for at least 12 months, will bring him a good way along the path. This course of procedure will describe a certain number of classical practices which are calculated to produce certain types of results. There will be no attempt to dazzle him with startling but vague promises, with fantasies of great achievements, with misleading claims leading nowhere. I will simply suggest that this practice or the other, when faithfully performed, should yield such and such result. The speed with which such results are achieved naturally must vary with each student. Each human being is different, though constructed more or less on the same anatomical, physiological and psychological and spiritual basis. But within these areas, there is room for a variety of differences. Such differences will determine whether he can work quickly, concentratedly, dynamically, slowly, methodically, imaginatively, or without any real vision of where he is going. But if this program is followed, he is, at the end of the year, to find himself a changed person with a vastly changed outlook upon life, an improved perception of himself, and capable of undergoing some kind of inner discipline which ultimately will take him along the trail where former spiritual giants have trod. It is my belief that having completed the course of training described within this 1 year manual, the student may find himself more prepared to embrace the disciplines that Crowley has recommended. In fact, I rather fancy that the probationer of Crowley's AA could find this manual of the utmost value to prepare him for advancement to the grade of neophyte. Neither of these two grades should pose any great problem or insuperable difficulty to the student who has first mastered the more simple disciplines as outlined here. As you can see, the first page discusses the 4 adorations. Whilst we have text describing sort of the verbal aspects of the adorations, we unfortunately do not have examples of the positions. The positions can be found very, very easily, either online or within other books. Okay, chapter 1 discusses body awareness. In brief, it's telling us that we need to practice mindfulness of our own bodies, be aware of different sensations within our bodies, take the time to just be with oneself. It discusses relaxation and visualization, which again is another really important element in any sort of undertaking, whether it be occult practices, witchcraft, or of the like. Likewise, it discusses correct breathing, rhythmic breathing, mantras, developing the will, the Rosy Cross ritual, a simple diagram. There's another diagram. Okay, middle pillar ritual. Symbol of devotion. It's actually quite a good book. It's been on my shelf quite a while, and it's one that really I need to pick up and spend a lot more time with, which I think I will be doing. Admittedly, a fair bit of the contents regarding the rituals can be found online. and perhaps in a more thorough way. You know, this book doesn't describe why you're doing the ritual. You know, it just gives you how to do it, not the theory of what's going on behind the scenes. But if you're like me and you prefer books, then it's a great little book. I have to add here, originally this book was called the 12 Steps to Spiritual Enlightenment. Just in case you already have a copy, just so you don't go out and buy the same version. There was my little tour of Israel Regardies 1 year manual.